More details have been confirmed regarding the tragic death of Takeoff. According to Harris County coroner's records obtained by Access Hollywood, the Migos member's primary cause of death has been determined to be, quote, penetrating gunshot wounds of head and torso into arm. His manner of death has been ruled a homicide. The Houston Police Department announced at a press conference on Tuesday that Takeoff, whose real name is Kirshnik Ball, had been shot early that morning at a bowling alley in Houston. Officers were called to the scene shortly after 2:30 a.m. and found him dead when they arrived. Following Takeoff's death, his family member and fellow Migos rapper Offset changed his Instagram profile photo to one of Takeoff in tribute to him. Many others also mourn the rapper's passing, including Drake, who wrote in part on Instagram, "Got the best memories of all of us seeing the world together and bringing light to every city we touch. That's what I'll focus on for now. Rest easy, spaceman." Khloe Kardashian tweeted, "This is so sad. Wow, over what? May God cover everyone who is in pain. These senseless acts have got to end. So sad." Keke Palmer wrote on Instagram, "This is horrible. From the tragedy of the death to the tragedy of there being a video of it online. It's all just tragic, and I am so sorry to his whole family and all he touched. Really terrible." An Outcast tweeted, "Rest in peace, Takeoff. Sending our deepest condolences and prayers to his family, friends, and community of people touched by his craft."
Breaking news, one of the members of the incredibly popular rap group Migos was shot and killed in Houston. Representatives for the group have confirmed the rapper known as Takeoff has died following this morning's shooting in Houston. The rapper's real name was Kirshnik Ball. He was 28 years old. His group, Migos, first formed in Atlanta in 2008, and by 2013, the trio hit it big with the single Versace. Drake actually was featured on the song, and it blew up. They've gone on to produce 20 platinum and gold singles and albums. You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about Takeoff and his career, right? So Migos is a rap trio. It's Takeoff, Quavo, and Offset. But just weeks ago, Quavo and Takeoff kind of branched out, releasing their first album as a duo called Unc and Few. It's been getting a lot of positive reactions, specifically for how Takeoff shined on the record in a way he hasn't always been recognized for. Obviously, Quavo is incredibly famous. Offset married to Cardi B. His career has kind of blown up, and people weren't giving maybe Takeoff the recognition he deserved. And that changed just days ago. Here he is on the podcast Drink Champs.
I'm chill, you know what I'm saying, laid back, but it's time to pop it, you know what I mean? I mean, time to give me my flowers, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want them later on when I ain't here. I don't want them later on when I ain't here.
It's so sad to me hearing him say, you know, I don't want my flowers later on when I'm not here, not knowing that just days later, you know, we'd be reporting this awful news. I think that was, Noriega actually was there in a bit kind of saying, you know, you shined. He's like, you know, you always shine. He's a rap fan, but it felt like you were dancing on this album. And he asked him if he felt like he had something to prove. And he said, absolutely. Like he was tired of people putting him in the shadows, you know what I mean? Like not recognizing his talent. Yeah, and he got the chance to do this. The saddest part about this is these guys are family, actually. Like Quavo and Offset are cousins. And Takeoff is Quavo's nephew.
That's what I was about to ask you. That's what I'd read before.
Yeah,
and I didn't know
uncle and nephew.
Okay.
So to think his uncle was there.
Right.
These kids are all around the same age. Not kids, these are grown men. But they're young, you know. They're 28, 30, 31, and they all grew up together as brothers. And to think that Quavo was there and had to watch this happen, it's horrifying.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I'm sad for them.
And we're still getting more information, but over dice, a game of dice.
You know, who knows? That's what TMZ is reporting. But I think the saddest thing is that a 28-year-old lost his life. You know,
just when his career was.
There's no possibly good reason that a 28-year-old could lose their life, you know? No.
The rap industry suffered another loss, as another rapper's life was taken away from us. While many of the rappers who have lost their lives were relatively new to the game, rapper Takeoff has been in the rap game since he was a teenager in 2008. Sadly, at 28 years old, the rapper's life was cut short. Although the police refused to release the identity of the man who lost his life in the incident, people who were present at the scene spread the news on social media as they revealed that Takeoff was the man who lost his life. Drew Findling, a lawyer for Takeoff and confidant to many rap stars, called the news of his passing a devastating loss, particularly for Atlanta. When you're around Takeoff, there's a sense of peacefulness about his aura, Mr. Findling said. He listens to you. He looks at you. He's more focused on what you have to say than what he has to say. The world was starting to learn about Takeoff. It was his time to shine.
So a Houston police chief is defending hip-hop following Takeoff's death. Hey, what's up? I'm A-Dub from DX Daily Podcast, and you gotta check this out. So Takeoff was shot and killed in the early hours of Tuesday morning, November 1st, but Houston Police Chief Troy Finner was determined to defend the hip-hop community following his death. While speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Finner addressed hip-hop getting a bad reputation and revealed he wants to meet with local rappers to discuss gun violence in the city. He also paid tribute to Takeoff, explaining how everyone had good things to say about the late Migos rapper as a person and a musician.
Because sometimes the hip-hop community gets a bad name. And I know, and evident from this city and people who I have a personal relationship, a lot of great people in our hip-hop community, and I respect them. But back to Takeoff, I got many calls from Houston and outside of Houston, and everyone spoke of what a great young man this is, how peaceful he is, what a great artist. And I'm calling up on everybody, our hip-hop artists in Houston and around the nation. We got to police ourselves. It is so many talented individuals, men and women, in that community who, again, I love and I respect. And we all need to stand together and make sure nobody tears down that industry. And I'm calling to start here in Houston, here and possibly as early as next week. I want to meet with some of our artists and see how we can taper things down.
As we all know, yesterday was Halloween. I did my live stream yesterday, and it was just interesting because I was telling everybody, please be careful. Please understand that the veil is the thinnest between October 31st and November 1st. October 31st is a very spiritual day for the occult. And then November 1st is considered the Day of the Dead in a lot of Hispanic cultures, especially in Mexico. All that aside, when I went onto his Instagram page, I noticed he had posted his final post, which was posted about maybe 10 hours ago now. He was posting a picture of him in front of the bowling alley in his outfit. And the music that's playing in the background is called Stop Breathing. And that's a song by Playboi Carti. So I always talk about words having power and spells. And it was just very interesting that the last thing he posted was a song called Stop Breathing. And he's no longer breathing. On top of that, they had also released their music video that same day, which was on October 31st on Halloween. And that video is called Messy. Okay. So I watched that video a few times and I noticed a few things that were really weird to me. In the video, there's a scene where Quavo is sitting on the bed and he's next to a contract and it says Migos on there, right? And there's also a gun. And I thought that was very interesting that there's a gun there and there's a contract and it looks like he's being forced to make some type of decision. He's contemplating something and then finally he just picks the gun. Then the scene scans over and we see Takeoff, and Takeoff is standing right next to a Grim Reaper sign and it says RIP. That sent me chills because, like I said, I don't miss a lot. I'm a very visual person. So when I'm watching this and then I'm seeing him standing next to that, I went back and I rewound it and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know if you guys noticed when watching the video, Quavo's outfit has a bunch of outstretched hands. It's the thumbnail of the video. Another thing that's really creepy is if you look closely at Quavo's outfit in the bed, he has on pants, and on those pants, those are outstretched hands all over his pants. And when he's in the bed, he has on a white t-shirt, but then when he meets back up with Takeoff and they're walking in the hallway, he has on a full jacket, and the jacket has a bunch of hands on them. And these aren't like handprints. They're not praying hands. These are like creepy hands, like hands that are ghoulish. They're cut at the wrist, and it's almost like these hands are crying out for help. That's kind of the last image that you see when you think about scary movies or somebody drowning in the water or, reaching out for help. It's like that hand, that last gesture, that fear, them wanting to be saved. And he has this printed all over his shirt and his pants. I try to look up the designer. I'm assuming it's Alexander McQueen, but I might be wrong. But I try to look up who made this design, but it's very telling. Like these are outstretched, creepy hands. Is that something possibly foreshadowing that, this shooting was going to happen, and that might have been the last thing that Takeoff would do is, kind of outstretch his hand looking for help? I don't know, but I just thought it was very eerie that he was wearing this shirt. And if you Google, creepy hands or reaching for help, they look just like the hands that are on Quavo's entire outfit from head to toe. So that was another thing I saw in the video. On top of that, in the video, there's also a scene of people fighting over a card game where things are escalating and they're getting upset and they're about to fight. And I thought that was very interesting because the initial reports came out that this was supposedly behind a dice game, that Quavo was upset he was losing, and then words were exchanged and guns were pulled out. But now there's another female that's come out and she's saying that it wasn't necessarily over a dice game. Another thing that's, that's kind of disturbing too, one of the popular slogans that come from Texas, we know NASA's down there, and one of the slogans that, they've always said for years is Houston, we have a problem. Another slogan that comes from NASA is Houston, we're ready for takeoff. And Takeoff even had an album, and it was called The Last Rocket. And that was released on November 2nd, 2018. It's going to be literally 4 years to the date tomorrow on November 2nd when he put out that album called The Last Rocket. Another thing that was very interesting as well on top of that is that Quavo and Takeoff also had a song called 2:30 on their latest album. And what's very interesting is that Takeoff was also killed at 2:30 in the morning. Now, their latest album is called Only Built for Infinity Links. Now, it's the latest collaboration between Quavo and Takeoff. They all kind of dropped their own separate albums. So now they decided to come back together. And so this was the latest album, and he had been, promoting it. And one thing that I found very interesting is that they were using the same logo as Meta. The whole, the number 8 logo, the infinity link, you're just always in an infinite, type circle. They were using the same logo on social media. And I remember back when Facebook changed to Meta, and it caused a lot of controversy because a lot of people weren't really liking that name or the logo. And the meaning of Meta in Hebrew meant dead. Like your base. And so a lot of people are deeply into that. Like, does that mean that you're leaving your physical body and then your body's going to be transported into the metaverse, the world of the dead? Like, this is just really weird. But I remember that caused a lot of controversy. So it's very interesting that on this new album, Only Built for Infinity Links, that they're using the same logo as well. So there's a lot, that's going on here with this situation. It's a lot to digest. There's still a lot of information out there. So please understand, I didn't make this video to accuse anybody of anything, to make it feel like, Quavo's behind anything. That's not why I made this video. I just look at stuff, esoterically. So sorry if you guys can't get with that. Like I always tell you guys, that Bible verse that says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So I'm showing you all this stuff in these videos to show y'all that there's certain messaging, there's certain codings, and there's certain things that happen, that we may never be able to fully understand or grasp. But there is definitely something spiritual going on in the air. There's a lot of things going on right now in the environment, good and bad.
We have a lot to talk about, and sadly, another sad story at the top of the show. As everyone has heard, Takeoff from the group Migos was shot and killed at a bowling alley in Houston. What are your thoughts on this heartbreaking news, Al? What do you think about this?
You know, Claudia, this was sad. It was heartbreaking. It was unfortunate. It was crazy. It was terrifying. And in a way, and I don't like saying this, but it was also embarrassing for the culture. But we really have to do better. You know, the first thing that I do want to say is condolences to him and to his family. For what I understand, he was a really good dude. Everyone that has spoken on him has had nothing but extremely positive things to say. So my heart go out to him and his family. But listen, in the last 3 or 4 years, he's like number 10, number 11, number 12, and none of the guys that have been victims of crime and gun violence have been over the ages of 36. This is very saddening, and we just have to figure out a way to do better.
I agree. It's super sad, you know? What a talent. Q, what do you think about this?
You know, there's an in-house conversation that we need to have amongst the culture. You know what? I'm probably going to exclude women. I'm going to say amongst Black men. I'm probably going to exclude the gays. And I'm going to say there is an in-house conversation that heterosexual Black men, particularly below the age of 30, need to sit down and have. It's just gotten to a point now where we can no longer turn a blind eye. We can no longer say, well, I'm classy and they're hood and that's hood stuff. Enough is enough already. We need to revisit the conversation about lyrics in music. While I'm not blaming music, and music makes nobody pull a trigger, it's a factor. It's a time as a culture, we stop it with all the gangster films and the gangster movies and the drug selling movies and drinking lean. I mean, it's just time for us to make a shift, because I think it's those attitudes, beliefs, and displays in popular culture that lead to the desensitization and the normalization of some of this violent behavior, and it's just not appropriate conflict resolution whatsoever.
Agreed. And I'd like to piggyback off what you said. Yeah, our music is jacked up right now, but even beyond our music, we are in a place now where there's no conflict resolution, and that's with everybody. I'm not even going to just say it's, yeah, we do have a problem with our Black men. We do, but it's with everybody, with We can't have a disagreement without someone going for the jugular and getting real personal. Well, that's why your mother left you. You know what I mean? Like, we go for the lowest of the low to just hurt someone over an argument. We can't disagree. We can't disagree on politics. We can't disagree on the sky is blue or the sky is yellow without someone having to go for the jugular. Also, we don't have men that will square up anymore. You know, we're so afraid of getting beat and losing that we have to go to the ultimate, which is ending someone's life. And we can't resolve anything with a conversation or even a fight. I would be okay with coming to fisticuffs, you know what I mean? Because then you live to see another day. But we don't know how to resolve conflict anymore. And it's so sad. It's so sad. And we have the audacity. I mean, of course, we have the right to be angry at law enforcement killing us, but I'm sick of us killing each other too. And this ain't no right-wing talking point at all. This is me talking to my community. Why do we not value each other? We have so little regard for each other when we're alive, right? As soon as someone dies, we talk about how great they were and they were amazing. And then we go finally support their music. I am sick of it. I'm sick of it, yo. We cannot resolve anything anymore without going to the ultimate. And it's sad. Look how mean we are to each other on social media. Look, and I'm guilty of it too. People come for me. I want to go back hard. We are all doing it. And we've got to stop because it's evil at this point. You know, I went on a rant today in my stories about it because it was just bothering me. Like, yo, remember we used to have fights when we were younger? You get your ass kicked and then you learn to fight better, or you saw them again, it was on, whatever, but we didn't kill each other.
Or you learned to shut up.
Or you learned a lesson. There's no lessons to be learned anymore with the way we handle conflict now.
Yeah.
Look at reality shows, 0 to 100. I sat there in that reunion and it's like no conversations can be had because nobody wants to have a conversation. They just want to fight. And I think we're living for people that don't even know us. We're living for the gram, you guys. A lot of people are living for how it looks. I look tough, right? I can't let him punk me, so let me just murk him. So when you go to prison, you'll get punked plenty in there. So good luck with that. So I'm pissed. I'm really sick of it. And to hear that Takeoff was the most humble and kind and quiet
and non-problematic.
Yes, it's always people like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's never the ones that we're sick of.
Yeah. Rest in peace and condolences to his family.
But what I will say is it seems as though lately that more people are becoming vocal. More people are speaking out. More people are kind of expressing the same sentiments that we've expressed over the last few years here on the platform. One of those people being former record executive Robert Starbuck. Now, Robert Starbuck used to do videos and manage artists. You'll hear him say a few of the artists that he's managed, but he has given a warning to hip-hop artists, the hip-hop community, as it pertains to the industry and what they really think of our brothers doing this thing that we love called hip-hop.
In light of seeing that a rapper from Migos died, I just wanted to go ahead and make a video about something I have a unique experience in. So I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this: a bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry is obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you. A lot of you are good people. You're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. Don't just get online today and talk about how, whenever a rapper makes it, his own people take him down. Don't just make those videos. Don't be sad. Don't rest in peace. None of that stuff. Be the change you want to see. Inspire it in your community. Reach out to other rappers and say, we have to stop. We're being used. You've been used for a long time. You know, they create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been. The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the Black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money, so that they could create a false paradigm of what happiness and what success really was. And in doing so, they created a world that also made people more dependent on government, and as a result, gave themselves more power. The record executives that push you to do this, to go and continue to profit off the backs of your work, they're in cahoots with the elite. They're in cahoots with the government. They want you to think you're important, but in truth, you're just doing their dirty work for them, so stop. They've empowered you in ways that are real. You have an audience, you have platforms, you have the ability to make change. So go against the grain together. They're more afraid of you all together standing up and creating a new culture that's built around family, faith, freedom, doing the right thing, valuing life, than they are of anything else. So I challenge you, use your power to do the right things. If you continue to do the same thing you've done, more rappers like this are going to die. How many have to die before you change the culture? And let me tell you something else. There's a reason the record labels pay us more to do rap videos. They don't tell you that, do they? Do they tell you that they pay us more to do your videos? Because they do. They do it because they know it's more dangerous. They do it because they know it's more difficult. And they do it because, frankly, there's a lot of money laundering involved. Those labels wash a bunch of money through. We don't do it, but we know the labels are doing it 100%. Okay, they're then taking the money off the top end, and you see on your royalty check, oh, they spent $150,000 on this video. Did they? Because we didn't see $150,000. Okay, so where did the money go? And to who? Their friend's company? A lot of times that's the case. Same thing with insurance companies. They charge us more to insure your videos. And it's because they know the culture that's been created. They know that the only possibility of a music video being shot up is on a rap video. And that's the truth. So change the culture. You have the power. Your people deserve it.